This is nice. Hello, everyone. I hope you are re-energized after the break. And what I want to talk with you about, and thanks for the amazing introduction, is things that I learned in the 10 years that I worked in cybersecurity. And just for everyone, one more sentence about myself. Even though I worked a lot in MSSPs, these days I also actually worked in the SOC. It was a lucky coincidence, but I had the chance to work in or build up a cybersecurity center for a big German manufacturer from scratch. Yeah, we started really with 3 people and I was in this team. So I just want to tell you what I will tell today. I felt this and it's nothing where we should feel guilty about. Even large organizations like I work for, we all struggle with the same problems. And that's why I have some key questions about the narrative that I want to build today. Yeah? And one of these questions is to IT managers, cybersecurity managers, SOCs, CISOs, it works for everyone, is how do we evaluate and utilize, even rationalize the tools, especially the security tools, but not only the security tools that we use. And I just looked into the news, into our own MSSP emergency channel today, and we have the outage of Cloudflare. And do we know which of our web services or services that we provide actually use Cloudflare? Can we say that as IT managers? Do we have the visibility if something like that happens? Back then when CrowdStrike stopped working, do we know where everywhere CrowdStrike agent is rolled out? So these things are difficult questions for everyone, not just for MDR providers, it's for every organizations. And that brings a good thing about the next question, yeah, are we prepared for the next major threat that hits us, or even configuration mistake like CrowdStrike and Cloudflare? Can we really tell to our board if we are at CISO or we are working in the SOC, can we tell that? And even I struggled back then. How should I explain people how well is our SOC working? Okay, all the SLAs are good. We protected or blocked that many malware with Symantec at that time. Good statistics, but what do they really say? So that's a really difficult question that you can ask to yourself. And then is how do we measure and communicate the effectiveness of a security program? Yeah, I just mentioned the keyword KPIs. Everybody wants KPIs, but what do KPIs really say? Do they say something about risk? They just say, some or either a SOC or a service provider like us who provides the SOC is doing the job timely, but more it does not say at the end. The good thing is that security leaders acknowledge this now. There are some statistics on the right, yeah, that security leaders, and this is from a questionnaire that we asked of our clients, yeah, they understand, okay, I have misconfigurations, yeah, I acknowledge that. I understand that IT hygiene is important, but I struggle with my CMDB to really understand it. And that brings me to the point how we as Kudelski Security want to move this narrative forward. And I speak here really critical about ourselves, is that MDR, it has become a commodity. There are so many vendors out there. There's Kudelski, we have Arctic Wolf out there. We are a lot of them. It's an overwhelming amount to choose. Everybody's a little bit different. And the fact is, we are all in the MDR space or in the SOC service space, we are reactive. Yeah, we detect something with the CM, with the EDR, we do an investigation, we give you a ticket, or we even do an automated response action with something like Torque, which is an amazing SOAR. Yeah, we try to do as much for you, but it's all after some alert has already happened. Something in your firewall has made a red light on, or in your EDR has found a malware, it's all reactive. So we challenged ourselves and thought, okay, how can we really move proactively? How can we maximize tool utilization? What can we give a CISO that he understands his real threat exposure, that he can say, okay, I paid now 2 years for MDR provider, what has actually improved? And how really can we effectively report risk? And here I want to bring in a word which the industry calls CTEM, continuous threat exposure management. This is a language that Gartner developed or picked up, let's say it like that, as a new hype thing, apart from AI, of course, last year. And now a lot of solutions jumping on this train. Suddenly vulnerability scanners like Qualys say they are CTEM, automated penetration tools say we are CTEM, but for us, CTEM is more a process that we have to do. And I want to show you in a case study what that really means. So what you can see here is a client of ours, that is a very decentralized, distributed client with a lot of entities. We are providing MDR services for that client, and we did a POC with our CTEM tool that helps the client to understand misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, tools that he has in his environment, assets that he has in his environment, and it understands where there are misconfigurations, where are there exploitable vulnerabilities. So what happened here, that you just understand the case study was that actually on one side, and not saying that Brazil is not important, we have the climate thing here, but in that plant, the IT had not the best visibility. And we told actually in a POC during this, we told them, hey, on 10 servers, you are actually missing a CrowdStrike configuration. So the agent was on it, but it was deactivated because there was something running that the agent, that the policy would destroy. So, it was not perfectly configured, and we made our client aware of that. Suddenly, because we were in a POC, normally what an MDR service provider should do in such a case is if a client tells us we cannot do an EDR agent here, you see that on the right side going down, we should actually as a service provider tell, okay, if you cannot protect it with EDR, at least we should prioritize these systems, put up an emergency rule, maybe put a risk score on these 10 machines, and monitor them with other capabilities, maybe with a CM rule or any kind of other detection mechanism that they are protected. But in that case, we were also not operationalized. It was still a POC. So the only thing is that we could warn them. And guess what? 2 weeks later, exactly on these 10 machines, one of them was affected by a ransomware. And the plant had a ransomware attack, and some systems were not working. Luckily, we knew already these 10 systems we can remediate relatively fast. But there you can see how important it is. We need to deal with security before it breaks. And to go more deeper into the narrative and make you guys understand what it is all about is where we struggle in the cybersecurity space is to really operationalize threats. What do I mean with that? I mean we need to understand what threat actors' narrative, So threat actors are very often, I would say, opportunists, They fire, we talked about phishing, or the recap, we talked about phishing. They try phishing, they try new malware, they try, now we hear about AI malware that is developing. I think the most attacks are a little bit more simple, but still we need to understand every threat actor is different, and threat actors also move in different vectors. So we need to understand where we are vulnerable against which attack. The second one, or the second big pillar of CTEM is defenses. And there also, it comes, I can sometimes not believe that I'm still talking about that, but IT hygiene is still a big topic. And just that you guys believe me, when I worked in this big manufacturer, our CMDB was not great. We could use it, we could search some assets, but we very often did not know really what is in the CMDB, how well is it managed, shadow IT. It's something that will probably always hunt us as IT professional. So we need to tune our defenses to find these blind spots in our organization. And here the continuous exposure management comes to place in the CTEM strategy. The goal is of the tool and technology that we are using and the processes is that we always know where are our assets, how they are configured, where do we have a gap, and how can we close this gap. And then, of course, the attack surface and the risk. But where, in my opinion, a lot of organizations struggle, and we struggle there as well, is to understand where is the highest risk. So where are our golden nuggets? And The only way to do this is kind of with prioritization. Yeah, that means you need to understand, okay, this business unit is responsible, for example, for R&D. All people that have laptops in that unit, they might have a higher risk if they get phished that PII, personal information, or even patents or something like that go out of our company. We need to understand which servers are powering our most important business applications. If we don't know that and something happens on them, it will take us it will take us a longer time. If the cyber attack, like in my case study, it will take us longer to remediate that. So it's really important to understand our internal attack surface and where an attacker might go in. And I heard that phishing was a big topic here today. It's true. Also understand that on your users. Which users do what in the organization and which users might be really applicable for these things. So now I want to dive into a little bit of a deeper understanding on how we solve that narrative. To some extent, we do this as a process, that means people, but we also have a tool that helps us understand these kind of gaps in our systems. So first of all, what does it really mean, threats? Who in the crowd knows about TTPs? One. So TTPs, there is something out there. I encourage everyone to visit this website once. It's kind of called, I call it the Bible of cybersecurity. Yeah, it's the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Yeah, go on the website and understand here are all the TTPs listed. That means the tactics and techniques that attackers are using to attack our organization. That can be phishing, that can be really, it goes really in depth, what all people use in terms of techniques in phishing. So we need to understand which threats and techniques are really applicable on us. And with that, we can strengthen our defenses. We need to understand, and you see here in the bottom, this is just an example of tooling that we integrate. But here is much more. I just looked it up actually before I started the keynote today. Cloudflare is also there, so we integrate into tools via API integration, and we understand we can read out their configuration, and that continuously. This is not just a one-time snapshot. This is a continuous understanding on which configurations are on which tool, and with that we can strengthen our defenses over time. We as an MDR provider can help you to tell the board, in this year we have done 20% increase in tools and configurations that support our cybersecurity strategy. And that's a real KPI. We have done so many policy changes that percentage-wise our organization is 20% more hardened. And lastly, asset and exposure. What it would help you to integrate a lot of your existing tooling in a platform like this is you would, and I call this kind of an automated CMDB. Because we are plugging into an EDR, into a vulnerability scanner, into Intune, what we do is basically we count all your assets that we see in the log files, in the APIs that fetch this data, we deduplicate them and give you a consolidated list. And with that list, we can do some magic. We can understand and tag certain systems and say these systems are used by admins. These systems are used by marketing. These systems are the servers for our most important business applications. And with that, we can do some risk scoring. We can basically say, okay, if an attack happens on this system or there is a misconfiguration that is associated with a new attack from threat intelligence that we see, we can immediately remediate it. And that is what we in Kudelski call a continuous threat exposure management. And in my personal view, I think this is the only way to really proactively prevent cyber attacks from happening. Yeah, I just give you that, I have 30 seconds left. I'll give you this last slide. These are kind of benefits that our clients give us back. One I already mentioned, like an automated asset discovery tool, where I also think it's really important is threat intelligence. If I ask later and you come to me and have a conversation, I don't know who really does something with threat intelligence. What's also important is vulnerabilities. Everybody has a vulnerability scanner, but the biggest thing that I see in vulnerabilities is you see a score that vulnerability is really bad, but do you know if a threat actor is using this vulnerability? With that, I come to the end of my presentation. I heavily encourage you to come over to our booth. I can show you later also a demo how this works into a platform. And I hope you learn something with that approach. CTEM is really valuable to us, which provides cybersecurity services, because it helps you to show really over time how we improve the security posture before something breaks. Thank you very much.